Hello and welcome to today's training. My name is Henry. Please do well to follow, like, and turn on your notification bell so that you can see and be well informed about all the new updates and what is happening in the world of SAP procurement, supply chain, logistics, P2P cycle. In today's training, we're going to be learning how we can create an indirect material procurement from start to the finish. And now the first thing I would like to share, which is very important for SAP consultants to be knowledgeable about, will be the account assignment. If you're going to be creating an indirect material procurement, you need to have a very good understanding of your account assignments. And as per the standard SAP, there are a list of account assignment that has already been documented. So as you can see, there are different types and different account assignment categories. Interesting thing is we cannot change the account assignment categories. However, we can change the description of the account assignment categories, okay? And during the interview, you're going to be asked about some of these account assignment categories and what their importance is. So I'm going to make it very sweet and short. The reason why businesses will use account assignment categories is mainly for indirect material procurement, okay? And in my experience, I've seen businesses use the K, account assignment category, which is the cost center, the P, which is for project. These are all very important for you to have a good understanding of. The Q, the S, okay? And I'll take my time to go over some of these ones. I'm gonna show you guys. I'll make individual videos on how you can create an indirect material procurement or a purchase order with account assignment category K, P, Q, S. Okay. And if any other one comes to mind, like the F, we will come back and also look into it. So today we're going to focus on this particular recording for the K. So the K has to do with cost center. And if you do not know what cost center is, in my other session when I was creating cost center could be very helpful for you to see, but more so cost center has to do with the controlling management of SAP. Okay. So we have the finance and controlling. So the controlling management is where you come across cost center. Okay. In this day and time in SAP, ECC and SAP S/4HANA, a lot of transactions, especially for indirect material procurement, has to be posted directly to a cost center. And we're going to be looking into that, but more so from an account assignment category perspective, the K indicator is for cost center. And this has some detailed information that's already been defined as per SAP. If you're working for any organization and they're needing an account assignment category configuration, I would say do not make those configurations directly into the standard template SAP has provided. You can always click the copy as to copy from this account assignment category to create another one. Then you can now begin to make certain changes on all this detailed information. In a nutshell, don't try to check boxes and uncheck boxes, especially when you do not really know what it does. All of this is very relevant for the consumption posting. But anyway, here you can see consumption posting V has been set, account modification, VBR has been set, the distribution 1, partial invoice 2, and the account assignment screen 1 for single account assignment has also been selected. Very importantly, you can see that the goods received has been checked. The goods received indicator firm has not been checked. And basically that means that if you create a purchase order and choose not to create a goods receipt as a follow-on document, the SAP system is not going to give you a hard stop or an error message because the goods receipt indicator firm is also not checked. Okay, so this is giving you an option of either creating a goods receipt or not. But if this was checked like this, it would mean that it is mandatory that you must create a goods receipt. But since it's not checked, it's not mandatory. Similarly, you can see that the goods received is non-valuated. Okay, that basically means that the stock will not be received because stocks are valuated into the SAP system, especially when you're creating like a raw material, a finished product, a semi-finished product, or trading goods. all of those are evaluated stock. But in this scenario, since the stock will be posted directly into consumption posting, it means the stock will not be evaluated. Okay, the stock is not going to be received into your regular or your normal stock inventory. Okay, and you're going to be seeing that whenever we create the purchase order with the account assignment category K, and we are trying to receive the goods. Of course, like I said, it's not mandatory, but assuming we're going to be receiving the goods, you would notice that it would not be posted into your planned storage location inventory because the GR is non-valuated and also it's not firm. And also here you have the invoice receipt. So this invoice receipt is also giving you the opportunity to either decide how you want to make the payment. Do you want to make the payment via the purchase order where you can check the box invoice receipt or not check the box for invoice receipts? Because again, it depends on the business organization. They could have different means and different routes how they want to make this payment, okay? So you can see SAP is leaving that as blank, as not mandatory. So you can make that decision whenever you're creating the purchase order. Also, these are some important fields that are there for the account assignment category, because as you can see, this posting is made directly into finance. So you can see that optional entry here is the cost center. If the business wants you to make this particular field mandatory, you just need to select that specific radio button, but you can see most of them are hidden and just these two are on display. The deletion indicator is also optional. And you can use this icon here to page down on next page, and you can see that there's a mandatory field, which is the GL account. So your account assignment category K for cost center would require a GL account. So this again brings you to the conversations of GL account. And when we create standard purchase orders, you would notice that this is the thing that is very different with the standard purchase order. The account assignment category screen is not there because the postings are made directly into evaluated inventory. But for this one, it's posted directly into the cost center consumption posting account. All right, so now let's also have a look at some of those accounts to help you have better understanding. So we're going to go to a transaction here called OMWN. So within this transaction, you can see how the grouping works. Okay, so here you can see that the SAP system uses the value string WA01 for this specific grouping. And as you can also see here, this has your current entry as GBB for offsetting entry for inventory posting. And you can see that the account modification is also VBR. And that's what we are seeing right here. And you can see the transaction event key for string. So you can see all the different transaction keys that are applicable for this specific value string and this specific account modification. Okay, as you can see here, account modification is VBR. And if I just take one step backward, you can see that this is the grouping. Okay, this is an account grouping. I'm just giving you an example where you can see movement type 351, where the value updating is checked and the value quantity updating is also checked. And here you can see the value string and you can see GBB. And also to help you have more understanding, I can pull up one more screen. And this screen has more to do with OBYC or WM transaction. And right here, you can, or OMWB, I mean to say. So we can open up another screen here and we can go to OMWB and it will always still just take you to OBYC. So just really depend on how you want to look at it, okay? But yeah, since we already have it on the screen, I'm just going to collapse this. Okay, if I back out of this screen, you can see I'm in GBB. And you can see here that to the right-hand side of my screen, we're looking at the GBB, okay, as the transaction event key for VBR. And here also, if we go to GBB, you can see that if we scroll down to VBR, VBR is the general modification that we will need to use or we need to compare. So you can see that the VBR actually exists. And these are some of the accounts that are there. So again, it depends on the finance department, because whenever you're creating indirect material procurement, the finance department will have to provide whichever the GL accounts they want the posting to hit. Sometimes they want it to hit a COG account. Sometimes they want it to hit a direct consumption account or an expense account. So it really depends on them, right? But here in this SAP training, I have a couple of accounts that has already been defined, and we can use one of these accounts, okay? So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more with regards to the account modification of VBR and how the SAP system is making this account grouping into finance consumption posting, okay? So you can see your GBB over here. And of course, from the previous screen I just showed, your GBB also is sitting right here for your charts of account. And you can see all the different account modification or general modifications. So you can see the various debit or credit accounts. So again, depends on the business. If the business wants that whenever they're creating indirect material procurement, it should hit this account, then it will be their responsibility to manually enter this information, because as you can see here, the general ledger account is mandatory, so they'll have to manually enter that information into either purchase requisition or the purchase order. So it's either this one or this one. So we're going to take a couple of examples so we can see. So now that we have discussed the account assignment, now let's go ahead and create the indirect material process. So the first thing I would advise is always create an info record. And within this info record, the interesting thing is we're going to be creating an info record for supplier 1221. This is my domestic supplier. And I'm not going to be entering a material, because when you're creating an indirect material procurement, especially with account assignment K, it is not mandatory for you to enter a material. And we're going to be talking about item categories and account assignment much later. But just have that as the back of your mind that whenever you're creating an indirect material procurement, you don't necessarily need to have a material. You can create it for a group, because we classify the order on account assignment K as low value product or consumable product. So basically product that the business is willing to consume, or they consume that product on a day-to-day basis. It could be like, office cleaning product. It could be office accessories or stationaries and so on. So those are the ones that are classified into this particular category, right? So here we're going to say supplier, we're going to leave the material blank, and we're going to enter the plant. Of course, the purchasing organization has already been maintained. And after you've maintained this information, you want to leave the info category as standard and just go ahead and hit continue. So what happens here is, you see the system doesn't really necessarily need the material, but it does need a short text. So in this scenario, I'm just going to go for office supplies and cleaning product, and also for the material group. So it's a mandatory entry to enter material group. So in this scenario here, I'm just going to select the material group right here. For expenses, it's either I use this one or I can check. I can also use P002 for material group expenses. Okay, so because these are not, stockable items, non-valuated items, so we can just keep it as expenses. And here you can also select the purchase order unit of measure. It could be units, it could be kilogram, whatever the case may be. It could be pounds, it could be each. So the sorting terms here, it could be sequentially sorted, maybe by 1, 2, 3, whatever. And also you can go to purchase order data 1 tab. And here you can define the planned delivery time. You can also enter the buyer and the total quantity you're willing to order. You can also make it unlimited supply. And also you can enter the net price. Let's say, for instance, it's going to cost $4 for each of the item that you're procuring from the specific supplier. It could be like some office supplies that are not that expensive, okay? And then you can go to the condition tab, and you can see here that I already have a condition schema set up. Okay, I have a pricing procedure, a pricing determination set up, and the system is already picking that up, okay? And also you can select this line and go to the header data, or you can go to the details, or you can even go to additional data. It really just depends on what you want to see. In this scenario here, I'm just going to go to the metadata, and here you can see the valid from to the valid to. So you can always, make this info record specified for a valid from to. Okay. Now, if you check and everything here looks fine, you can go ahead and hit save. So now it has created a purchasing info record. Okay. So you can see we have created an info record without necessarily entering the material, but we defined the short text and we also defined the material group, which is very important for this scenario. Now, secondly, we're going to go to ME51N. We're going to go create a purchase requisition. I wanted to take this opportunity to show you guys how you can create a purchase requisition for an indirect purchase order. So right now, it's still just going to be the standard document type of ND. And since you just created an info record, you can check this box for source determination, and you can go to the item overview tab. And the first thing you want to do is in the account assignment category, you also want to select the drop down. And then you want to select the K for cost center. Okay. And then for the item category, you're going to leave as is. You're not going to enter a material here. For the short text, you can also say something like office supplies and cleaning products. Okay. And you can define how many quantities you want. So let's say 100 unit of measures each. Let's say maybe the delivery date is going to be on Christmas Day. And then you're going to select the material group because it's very important. So now we're going to keep the same material group. And then your plans is going to be US 29. So the interesting thing about this, just like I mentioned earlier on, is since the stock is not going to be received into an actual storage location because there's really not the material you're ordering, you're just ordering a group of materials, an everyday material, an office supplies, cleaning product, an everyday material. This material or the stock is not going to be used for production purposes. It's just, the stock that is used in the office on an everyday basis, right? So it's not going to be received into your production storage locations, be it like your semi-finished products, trading goods, raw materials, or finished product storage locations, okay? This is going to be placed in maybe a box in your office or a drawer somewhere, right? So you're going to leave the storage location blank, and then your purchasing group, you can always enter that. And once you hit enter on your keyboard, you notice that it is asking us to enter the GL account. And the reason why it's asking us to enter the GL account is within the cost center account assignment category K, you can see here that the general ledger account is mandatory. And that's the reason why even in your purchase requisition, the system is asking us for that information. And you can also see here that I've already created a different info record. So the system is also saying you have two options. Which of them do you want to choose? So I'm going to choose this one because it's the one we are using. So now I'm back to the screen where it's asking me for the GL account. So again, if I go back to OBYC, here there are different options. And again, like I mentioned, this is where finance department will have to work with the procurement team to decide which GL account do they want the SAP system to hit when finance posting or the consumption posting is being made. Because the thing with consumption is when you place an order for an account assignment category K for cost center, which is a consumable stock group or group of stock, the consumption posting hits finance instantly once you create goods received. Okay. So these are stocks that are ordered and consumed immediately. And of course, once that goods received has been created, meaning that you're receiving the stock, it has to hit one of these accounts. So from the get-go, the system would require that you specify what account you have to hit. Now, that's a big difference. That's a big difference from the SAP standard material procurement or purchase orders, okay? So here we can copy this GL account and we can go to this order screen, FS00, and we can actually enter the GL account number. And here you can see this is a consumption raw material account. And let's say maybe the business also have other options. So this is another GL account. Can enter that, hit enter. This is the COG's account for finished product or finished goods. There's also another account here. And mind you, all of these accounts are directly linked to the VBR. That's just the ones we're looking at. Okay, consumption, repair material, whatever the case may be, right? So it really just depends on finance. So this is where you have to work with finance department to have a very good understanding of which GL account you need to hit. So in my scenario, okay, I'm going to pick just one. I'll go with this one. Okay, assuming that this is the account finance asset, let's make posting into this account or maybe into this account. Okay. Okay, into this account. So what we will need to do, we will enter that account there. And then, of course, the cost center. Okay, it's not mandatory entry. You can hit enter on your keyboard. And you see, the system is asking us that this particular account requires an account assignment relevant to cost center. So basically what it's asking you to do right now is to type in your cost center. So you can click into the drop-down menu. And here you can see our controlling area because, of course, your cost center and your profit center is directly linked to your controlling area. Cost center enables the business to determine, how much they are willing to spend for a particular product. And of course, since this is going to be for a consumable stock, a department will be responsible to make this payment. And it's broken down into cost centers. So we can click continue. And here you can see the two cost centers that I have into the system. I'm going to go ahead and select ZUS29 for human resource, assuming it's human resource that needs to pay directly for the office supplies and cleaning products. You're going to enter your keyboard. And here's asking us to enter evaluation price. We're just going to say $4, but you can see that the pure price would not apply. So this $4 will not apply to the pure price, okay? Importantly, you can also see that the goods received has been checked, meaning that after we create this purchase requisition and create a purchase order, we would have to create a goods receipt and also an invoice receipt. Imagine if I uncheck both of them. So basically, I'm telling the SAP system that once I place the order, I don't want to receive the stock because I'm not going to be receiving the stock into a regular storage location plant. I have the opportunity to do that here. And then also for the invoice received, I have the opportunity to also uncheck the invoice received, stating that I'm not going to be making payments through the standard SAP process. Maybe the business has like a third-party system that they want to use for their payments. So that way the system will not require an invoice receipt, okay? But in this scenario, we're going to keep both of them checked, okay? And we're going to hit enter on the keyboard. We no longer have error messages. So here you can go back again to the source of supply. You can see the system is only selecting the one that I've checked, the one that we've created just a few minutes ago for $4. And you can see our account assignment also, everything is fine. If you are wondering how did we create a cost center, so there's a configuration that we need to do in the back end, but more so you can also in the front end create a cost center by going to accounting, controlling, cost center accounting, master data, standard hierarchy, and then we can go to display since we've already created a cost center. And this is the cost center the system is picking up, ZUS29, cost center manager, human resources, and you can see all the other relevant information. You can see all the relevant information. Okay, so I'm just going to leave the screen for now. We'll come back to that. So here we're going to go ahead and hit save, and our purchase requisition has been saved, ending with number 27. So now we can go convert that purchase requisition into a purchase order. So here we can go to document overview on, and we're going to click this drop down. I'm going to go to my purchase requisitions, and that's the purchase requisition. You can drag it into your shopping cart. and all the information is populated, you can document overview off. And after that, of course, you can also see your invoice received is check and your goods received based invoice, basically saying that you have to receive a goods for you to make a payment, invoice receipt. Here, we don't necessarily need to enter a tax code, but if we want to, we can. And this is the tax code I'm going to select. And here we can just validate to make sure all the relevant information, the quantity you're trying to order, the delivery date and all that good stuff. You can also see that this purchase order was converted from a purchase requisition. That's your purchase requisition number. The open quantity is 100. This is the delivery information. It's going to trigger a goods receipt. Okay. And you see all those controls that is given to you is mainly because this is for indirect material procurement, okay? When it comes to do with the direct material procurement, some of these controls are not there. They are grayed out, meaning that you cannot make changes to it. Okay, so be mindful of that as an SAP analyst and an SAP consultant, what you're able to do within the direct and indirect. So most importantly is the account assignment tab that has been added. Direct procurement, you don't have the account assignment tab being added. So here you can see all the information such as the distribution is a single account assignment. So again, if you go to the back end, you can see that we have also the distribution number one. And distribution number one here is talking about distribution on account basis. And most of those informations that have been adapted into your screens, you can see like single account assignment is being adopted from the account assignment category. K for cost center configuration is being adopted into the screen right here. Also, you can see your controlling area, your functional area, YB20, and where that information is also coming from, YB20. Okay. All right, so perfect. Here you can see your GL account got adopted. You can see your cost center also got adopted. So everything is fine. You don't have any other thing you want to add. You can proceed. Like I mentioned earlier on, you wouldn't necessarily have to add a storage location simply because this is a consumable item. It's a low value product. It's a product that is being used on a day-to-day basis. The company doesn't manufacture, neither do they produce office supplies and cleaning product. Instead, they consume it, meaning that they use it for their own day-to-day activities. So we can go ahead and hit check if everything is fine. We can also look at the header. You can see the total order quantity still to be delivered. Also, you can go to the messages to just make sure that your output is ready. You can go to your communication method. This is just basically telling the SAP system that when I create this purchase order, it should generate a PDF that I can send to the specific supplier, the Target Houston Texas LLC supplier. So after that, you can hit save. Now your purchase order has been created. You can click onto this button and you can copy your purchase order number. Of course, you can also go into the purchase order so you can see the order has been created and this is how much you're going to be owing the business because you're ordering a total of 100 times 4 equals to this 400. And very importantly, you can go here to the invoice tab and you can see that the next step of what you need to create right now will be a goods receipt based invoice because you cannot directly create an invoice without first creating a goods receipt. So we can open up another window and we can go to MIGO. And you want to keep this for goods receipt against the purchase order. You can enter your purchase order number. You can take that plan out. Just want to make sure that your goods receipt movement type is 101 and you can execute. All right, so now you can see your short text, okay? You can see the material group, the total quantity you placed the order for. You can see where it's going into. You can see the movement type, goods received for account assignment, okay? So even though you're saying the stock type is unrestricted use, you can see here that the plant is US29, but there's no box for storage location because like I clearly mentioned earlier on, when it comes to do with indirect material procurement, it's making the posting directly into the GL account, into the profit center, into the cost center, and the cost center is consuming that stock and then making payments immediately. So this payment is going to be posted, the consumption posting is going to be made into this account, and this cost center, which in this case I refer to them as human resources or cost center manager. The cost center manager is going to be responsible to make the payments. Okay. So here you just want to tick the box for item is okay. You can see that this is against your purchase order. You can see the supplier supplying the product, and you can obviously see your account assignment, the GL account that this posting is going to be made into. So you can see the cost center manager here, who is Prof. Henry. You can see the profit center, okay, the area that is going to be profiting from this. And you can also see a functional area. If everything is okay, you can click check, and document is okay. You can hit post. And then interestingly, after it is posted, you can go to the display tab, and that material number that was posted will appear up here. You can hit execute, and you can go here to the document info and go into the FI document. And within the FI document, that list of document and accounting that has now been posted into your GL account. So you can go to the accounting document for the first line, and you can see that a goods receipt and invoice receipt was credited, and a consumption raw material was debited. So you can see that this is 9.6, and 9.6 here has to do with your credit, like I said, your GRIR credit account. And obviously for the 81 is the cost. And that was debited. That's the cost that your business will have to pay for receiving the office supplies and the cleaning product, okay? Now that this has happened, the next step would be to go create an invoice, because assuming your business has now received the office supplies and cleaning product, they need to make payment, okay? And here, you want to select the PO reference, the purchase order, scheduling agreement. You're going to paste that number. I'm just giving a short reference to say this is a cost center for PO number ending with 119. So here we can also calculate the tax. We can also select, the tax code. You enter your keyboard. And here you can see the total information. This is the quantity that you're receiving. This is the price at which you're buying. And you can see this is what it's going to cost your business. But of course, since we have a tax code configured that we're calculating the tax, it also does mean that you're going to be owing $80 for VAT, value-added tax. Value-added tax is always applied for every stock that a company orders. So when they purchase a stock, they would also have to pay a value-added tax. This is not going to be, subtracted from the business, but instead the business can always claim these VATs from the government, okay? Now we're going to enter the total amount, which is going to be 480. So 480, this is the total amount that they would have to pay, because of course this is going to be included in the tax amount. So now you can go to simulate document, and in the simulations, you can see clearly what is happening. So right here, the posting number 1 is basically telling that this is the account by which you're going to be paying targets using excess. This is targets, the supplier that supplied you the product. This is how much you owe them. So this is going to be a credit to them. And of course, your goods receipt and invoice receipt account is going to be debited. So this is your GRIR account. That's going to be debited on behalf of this purchase order that was created. And you can see this is the cost center that is responsible to make the payment under the controlling area of 8000. And this is the amount of quantity that was ordered for this particular plant. And as you can see, this is the profit center as well. Okay, so in most cases, companies are always given budget on a yearly basis to be able to, take care of some of this miscellaneous expenses, day-to-day activities that will require specific product. So in most cases, they would have a consumption or an expense account that they would have to use for that. okay? And of course, you can see the clearing accounts that I've created for the tax, okay, which is going to be the $80. And after everything, you can see the debit, and you can see the credit, and you can see what the balance should be. And we're going to hit post. And now you can see that the material document has been created ending with 773. And here we can also directly copy this number. And after copying that number, okay, we can go here to display, can paste that document number. And here you can see that we have finally made the payment. We have paid to the vendor ending with 1221, which is the target Houston, Texas vendor. This is the total amount that we ended up paying. And here you can also go to the follow-on document for more details. So you can see this is the document number that got generated after we made the packing, after we've just packed the invoice for payment. For the specific date, this is our reference, and this is the currency. This is the posting date, which is today. This is the company code, and this is the fiscal year and the period. Okay, 12 months is the period. And again, here you can see that the vendor has been credited with 480. Well, I would say he has been packed to be credited. Right now, his invoice is processing. The US 29 company code account has now been debited of $400. And also they have a clearing account, which would be responsible to be debited as well for the tax. So now if we want to make the final posting, we can also go to the accounting tab. Again, this is a responsibility of the finance team. This is not necessarily a materials management requirement or activity, but I'm just showing you for your knowledge. So you can go to accounting, and here you can go to financial accounting, and you can go to accounts payable. And within accounts payable, we can go here to document. And before we even go into document, let's go to the document entry. And in the document entry, we can go to the outgoing payment. So this is where we're going to make the final posting. But even before that, we can actually go to account, and here we can go to FBL1N to actually see if we do have a pending posting to be made. So here you can enter your vendor account number, your company code. You can keep the status as open item, and you can enter today's date or whatever, and then you can execute. So here you can see that we have a posting that needs to be made. This posting is due to be made. So when you see this icon, it means it is overdue. Okay, so as you can see, we have this posting that is due, and this is the total amount that needs to be paid, which is 480. You can also double click into this, and here you can see the amount that you need to pay, which is $480 to this vendor on behalf of your company code. And this is the GL account that is associated to making that posting. And this is also the document number that got generated. So you can see that's the same document number that got generated into the other screen. And also, last but not the least, you can now back out of this window. And here we can now go to the F53 post, and we can enter today's date. And you can see the document type KZ is picked up. KZ has to do with vendor payments, the company code, the currency, everything has been picked up. And here you can enter the account that is associated for you to make the posting. In this scenario, I'm going to be using this account, and we can also check to see what that account specifies. So I'm going to filter. So this is the account that we are looking at, or the account that I'm looking to use. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to back out of this, close this window. I'll clear that and then I'll check again. Okay, let's check like this. I'm gonna filter. Let's try to filter it again. All right, so these are all the different accounts. There are different clearing accounts that we can use. Depending on whatever the business provides, you can come in here and search for whatever account you want to use. And if you notice, one thing I've been showing you is we have different ways to search. It's either you want to search as this, or you want to search as chart of account number and chart of account by balance type, number and company code. It really depends. Okay, it really, really depends. And here you can also scroll down to find the appropriate one that you want to use. Okay. And then you can also use the binoculars glasses to search based on whatever the naming convention is. In my scenario, I've already selected an account, which is this account. And here you want to enter your company code. Actually, you want to enter the vendor account number. The vendor account number would always be the vendor number. And you can now hit post and hit enter on your keyboard. So it brings you into this screen and you can see all the different accounts that are pending to be paid to this particular vendor. So this is the one we're interested in right now. You just need to double click into it and double click this out and double click this out and then double click back into it. Okay, yeah, so this is the amount you need to pay. You can copy that amount and then you can back out of the screen once. And then in here, you're going to select the posting key. So you can select posting key 50. So what is posting key 50? Posting key 50 has to do with the credit entry. So let's start with the credit entry against your account and hit enter. And here you're going to enter your amount that needs to be paid. And then also you just want to repeat the same information and hit post. And you can back out of it and hit enter your keyboard. And that information is here. You can go back again, but this time around, we're going to select 40. And what is 40? So 40 has to do with debit entry. So it's like we're going to make the posting against a debit and a credit. Again, you're going to hit enter, you're going to enter the amount. We're going to want to balance everything out to make it 0. You enter again, back out, and hit enter on your keyboard. And there you go. So it's going to be a debit and a credit. So we just want to balance out the payment, okay? And now you can hit post. And usually if it brings you back to the screen and tells you that something is too large, because we're only considering number of items for number 3, right? What you can do is you can back out of the screen and you back out of the screen again. I'm going to enter this information once. And what we can do is we can decide to first start by saying a debit before a credit. Okay, so we already have that information. We're going to back out and then you're going to enter 40. You're going to enter this amount. You hit enter your keyboard. You enter this amount. You enter the keys. Hit enter. And then you're going to do the same for the credit back out. And hit enter your keyboard. So you have everything. Interestingly, it has only picked up 42 times. So what we need to do is we're going to start afresh because I think that was a mistake. Okay, we're going to enter all this information again. Click continue, hit enter. Okay, uncheck this too. You have only 480 here. Back out. We're going to choose 40. Hit enter the amount. Choose 40. hit post, back out of it, hit enter on your keyboard. Okay. If you try to post it right now, it's going to throw that message. So we want to make sure that we do the same thing, but this time around for 50. Okay. You enter your keyboard. So everything here is balanced out. Now post. It's still saying that the difference is too large. So as you can see here, it says that you can change off the difference amount manually, clear the differences. You define the upper limit for automatic clearing. So this one is going to take us to OBA for transaction, as you can see. And here we can look for a company code for US 29. So if this setup is not done in your system, you might run into the same thing when you're trying to make this clearing. But I think everything here should be fine. Here I can see permitted payment differences. Okay. So let's take this up to 1,000. Could be the reason why. All right. And then I'm going to hit save because our differences is quite high. As you can see, our difference is up to 700. All right. So let's close this. Try to post it now. If it doesn't work, we're just going to close it completely. So one thing we can also do is we can just directly enter the amounts that we need to pay, which is the 480. Okay. I'm going to take all this out. So it's just the 480 we're supposed to pay. And it's going to balance it out to 0. And we can back out of this screen. Okay, so since we already have this, let's hit post. And that's it, posted. Okay. So now we have made the posting. We can also directly go to display. And you can see this is the document number that got posted. And as you can see here, it cleared against the account that I've entered. And you can see we have it as 50, and 50 here has to do with a credit entry against the actual amounts that we were owing, which is for 25, and 25 here has to do with outgoing payment. So this was a credit, and this was a debit, and this was a credit to this particular account. Okay. So now we can also go back here to FBL1N, and we can check for cleared items. And you can see that this has fallen under the category of a cleared item. So you can see that our posting has now been made complete. We no longer owe the vendor 1221, the $480. So we've made the final post and it has now been cleared. So before we wrap up the session, I just want to take us back to the purchase order that we created in the first place. This is the PO. And here we can refresh this PO ending with 119. And here you can see that we ordered 100 for $400 that we owed. It got delivered. And then we're finally invoiced. Okay. So we have paid, including the tax that we owed. And you can go here to the purchase order history and you can see all the payments that was made. Okay, so here it would only capture the 400, but at the point of invoice, we know that we also calculated the taxes and everything is now being complete. Well, that brings us to the end of the account assignment with K. In another session that I'm going to be recording, we're going to look at account assignment with P, with Q, and the other ones that are quite popular. Okay, so the popular ones are the K, the P, and the Q. So we're going to look at that in the next session. And before you leave, if you have not liked, followed, or turned on your notification bell, please do so. So that way, once we drop hot SAP configurations, back-end transactions, front-end transactions, you'll be the first to know. Thank you, and that will help me to be able to reach out to you. Please feel free to reach out to us if you're interested to becoming an SAP consultant. You want to learn how, to thrive in the SAP world. We have a full curriculum. We have a 2-month training that we have for January the 15th. And you can directly contact this number for SAP Materials Management Assessment and Procurement Mentorship. Thank you and have a good day.